number line here. We worked on that yesterday. I said we can just get away from the number line, right? What we're going to start doing is you're seeing negative numbers like what you would for integers. And some of these we can just leave going across like they have, okay? But if you know what I'm talking about in bell work, I always like you to write it up and down. There's two reasons to write it up and down. So I'd write negative 3/5 plus a negative 1/5. Okay, so I want you to write that up and down also in your book, please. The reason why it makes it better, and I'm just going to give you an example that you do not have to write, is when the denominators are different. So let's say this denominator is going to be 10. You have to have a common denominator, right?
Yeah.
So what would my common denominator of 5 and 10 be? 10. It's going to be 10, so I'd have to show this times 2 over 2, which I would get a negative 6/10, and then keep that as a negative 1/10. Do you see how it makes it easier to the right to show it? If I was going up and down, and again, like I said, you don't have to write this. This is just an example.
This building, they just called me down the office twice.
See? You can put it underneath of it, but you're not showing how you're multiplying to get to that. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Because I can say, oh, that's a negative 6/5 plus 1/10. Oh, I should say 6/10. But it's not really showing it. And I'm going to tell you, they're going to get a lot more difficult to finding the common denominators than what's here, okay? So that's reason number 1 to write fractions up and down when adding and subtracting. We don't have to for multiplying and dividing, because do you have to have a common denominator? No. So that's why we just keep them going across. The second reason is if I have a mixed number. If I have a mixed number, let's say 2.5 minus 3/4. This is going to be a lot harder than what's in your example today.
Oh, yeah.
We first need to find a common denominator.
4.
4. So this is times 2 over 2, and I get 2/4 minus, and then I just write the 3/4 again. Can I take 2 minus 3?
No, you borrow
Okay,
2.
and then this is how you show you borrow the 2. The 2 becomes a 1. I add 4/4, which is 6/4, and then 6/4 minus 3/4 is
3/4.
and then bring down my whole.
Oh,
Do you see how that is so much easier
Oh, yeah.
than if I'm going to go across? Because it shows how I can borrow. We're going to get to those later. But just, I want you to start practicing trying to get it up and down. Okay?
Yes.
So, you guys, thank you, Katie. So we did this. 1/3 plus 2/3 is 3/3, which is 1. You don't just say or 1. It does need to be simplified.
Okay.
It needs to be reduced. Okay?
Okay.
For B, we had a negative and a positive, so we follow the rules of integers.
Subtract.
So we subtract. 3 minus 1 would be
2.
And then you do what?
Keep the sign of the bigger number.
Keep the sign of the bigger number. And the bigger number is 3, and the sign was a negative.
Negative.
We're adding 2 negatives. They're both negative, so you just
Add them.
add them.
Negative 7/5.
4.
4/5. A negative, keep the sign. It's a negative 4/5. I have a negative 1/4 plus a positive 1.
Zero.
My answer is going to be
0.
0. What property is this?
Additive inverse.
Great. Write it down. Everybody needs to write it down. We had this in the last chapter. It wasn't going anywhere. It's still there with us. We have to carry this along the entire way.
I got it wrong because I didn't look at the negative sign,
Okay.
so I just did it.
Here's when we're starting with fractions right now, you're also going to have negatives. So it's not going to be quite as easy as it has been in the past because we're adding negatives, which means that includes our how how to add and subtract integer rules. So you're bringing those rules back. So if you have those rule pages as those notes, you can use them. Number 3. Sophia ate 3/5 of a cheese pizza. Jack ate 1/5 of a cheese pizza and 2/5 of a pepperoni pizza. How much pizza did Sophia and Jack eat all together?
A lot.
This is a story problem, so you have to look for your clue words. What's my clue word in the story problem? All together. If it, circle it, please. So if it says all together, I am going to. So all I have to do is write 3/5 plus 1/5 plus 2/5 because it's all together. It doesn't matter what kind of pizza was eaten. I just want to know all the types of pizza. I'm sorry?
Since when is altogether one word?
Forever.
Always.
What?
So I have 3/5 plus 1/5 plus 2/5. My denominator is going to stay the same,
It'd be 6/5.
and it's 6/5, which we
We have to simplify.
It'd be
simplify
1/5.
1 and 1/5. Now I just got done saying it's better to write things up and down, didn't I?
Yes.
But when I have 3 fractions, the denominators are the same. The fractions are all less than 1. It's actually easier going horizontal. So you kind of have to make a judgment a little bit. Can I just keep it horizontal, or do I need to write it up and down? It's not a mixed number. You don't need to write it up and down. Okay? Let's try the got it problem. Eduardo used fabric to make 3 costumes. He used 1/4 yard for the first, 2/4 yard for the second, and 3/4 yard for the third costume. How much fabric did Eduardo use altogether? What's my clue word?
Altogether.
Okay, go ahead and start trying to solve that problem off to the side. You should have written 1/4 plus 2/4 plus 3/4. These are all less than 1, so I'm just going to write it going horizontally. They all have the same denominator. 1 plus 2 is 3. 3 plus 3 is
6.
So I have 6/4. But then 6/4 would be 1 and
1/2.
2/4. But I can't leave 2/4.
Be 3.
1/2.
Divide it by 2. Reduce it again, and that would be 1/2. So my answer is really 1 and
1/2.
1/2. Don't forget to reduce it or simplify it all the way. If you don't, that is where you're going to get it wrong. Our next problems now are going to be subtraction problems. We have negative numbers in our subtraction problems. So we have to make sure we follow the rule for subtracting integers. When we subtract integers, it is
Keep, change, change.
keep, change. You can keep them going sideways, a -5/8 minus 3/8, but I'm going, oops, I forgot my 8s there. Minus 3/8. I am going to write it up and down, and so are you, off to the side. And then I'm going to do this. Keep the negative. Change subtraction to addition. And that marker's not working. And change the positive to a negative. And make sure you put the negative with the numerator. So I have a -5 plus a -3 would be a -8. And the denominator's 8.
So negative
Which would be a -1. Number 5, we have 5/8 minus 7/8. I cannot switch the order and say it's 7/8 minus 5/8, so it's 2/8. So you cannot do that. Write it up and down. 5/8 minus 7/8. Now, let me hold up just a minute. Right now we're doing the keep, change, right?
Yes.
Okay? So we would keep, change, right?
Yes.
Now hold on. What if I had this as a mixed number, and it's just subtraction.
Wouldn't you just leave?
Do I do the keep, change, change?
No.
No, you just do the subtraction and you just borrow from the whole number. You guys understand the difference? Cause
Yeah.
sometimes that can get confusing. So, when I have a negative, or when I'm subtracting and the bottom number's bigger than this, I know it's going to be negative. So keep, change, change, and my answer is a negative 2/8,
1/4.
but then reduced by 2. Show me that you're reducing by 2, and that would be a negative 1/4. Show me that you're reducing. So why don't you guys go ahead and try F.
We already did those.
Did everybody go ahead and do those?
No.
Okay, so just take a couple seconds right now and go ahead and try to finish. Some of you that did them, double check them. Write them up and down, like I just explained. Alright, let's take a look at F first. Is this one of those ones where I can use my own judgment and just keep it going horizontal? I don't have any negative numbers. Do I?
No.
So can I just say what's 5 minus 2?
Yeah.
What's 5 minus 2?
3.
So it'd be 3 ninths, but is that my final answer?
1/3.
Reduce, and show me that you are reducing by 3 and get 1/3. G, a negative 5 ninths minus 2 ninths. Do I have a negative number?
Yes.
So you better rewrite it. And then I better say, talk myself through it. Keep, change, change. And a negative 5 and a negative 2 is a negative 7, and then the denominator always stays the same.
I gave it a positive because I told myself negative plus a negative is
I got a positive.
A negative times a negative is a positive.
darn it.
When you're adding two negatives or subtracting, and they're both negative, you keep the sign.
Okay.
A negative 11/12 minus a negative 5/12.
Keep changing.
I better write it up and down, right? And keep the keep, change, change mode going on. So I keep the negative, change subtraction to addition, change that negative to
Positive.
positive. So now I have a negative and a positive that I'm adding. So I just subtract. What's 11 minus 5?
6
12.
equals a half.
Okay, wait, whoa,
No.
slow down for a second. You forgot the step where it says, keep the sign of the bigger number.
Oh, darn it.
So it needs to be negative. Then you can say it's a negative 1/2. Don't get tricked up by forgetting to bring the sign down. Always check for the sign of the bigger number. Okay, let's turn the page. Our last example. And it says choose an operation. That means in this lesson, you're going to have to make sure you're looking for clue words. Am I going to add or am I going to subtract the fractions? Sometimes they'll give you an extra fraction that's not even needed. Okay? So be careful there. It says you can add or subtract like fractions to solve real world problems. About 6/100 of the population of the United States lives in Florida. Another 400th lives in Ohio. About what fraction more of the US population lives in Florida than Ohio? What's my clue word?
More.
Yeah. More, and it's more than.
Yeah.
Because I'm comparing, and when you have more than and you're comparing, you're going to subtract. So then I'm going just to subtract, and here it is. 600ths minus 400th. Could I leave it going across?
Yeah.
And that becomes 200ths, and we reduce it down to, or simplify to 150. Watch for clue words. Watch for unneeded information. They might give you a bunch of numbers in the story problem, and it's not needed. Always follow the rules of adding integers and subtracting integers. I